I've been working on a few projects recently with these LCD displays. They come in a variety of shapes and sizes. This is a kind of large 4-line display, but more commonly you get little 2-line displays, and also some of these really nice tiny little screens here. These are kind of 2-line by I think only about 8 characters. Now they're really common, very well known displays. I started using them a very long time ago with PIC microcontrollers and a huge bundle of wires running from all of these pins. But that's one of the downsides of these, the huge numbers of pins on them. And so it's quite common to find little adapter boards to convert this into an I2C or SPI connection. LCD Backpack, as I think they're quite commonly known. This is a very common Adafruit one. Board they make. I think it supports SPI and I2C. It's switchable, and these boards are designed to kind of mount directly on the back of the display, like so. Got a big row of pins, and they solder directly to it, and it converts a really nice, really cheap displays. These are down to something that's simple to use and only takes kind of 2 pins up. Great, but recently I've come across. I started looking at these displays. These are basically the same thing, just smaller, and as a result they've got a dual row of pins, so rather than in a single line, and you can't mate them, they don't join up. You'd have to use a huge mass of wires to hook them over. And so I've produced a little adapter. It is identical, pretty much identical to this board here, this is a Chinese cheap little adapter I picked up. And it uses the same chip. Now focus. It's really straightforward. It's just dual line connections mapping over to the relevant pins on the kind of port expander chip here. Got a tiny little resistor, variable resistor for the contrast control, a PNP transistor, and resistor for the backlight if needed, and that maps it out to an I2C connection. And these mount directly to the back of the screen. And so it doesn't take up any extra space. It sits on the back, and it just makes these displays as useful as the large ones with their adapters. And so this is a board that's gone through a couple of, kind of 2 revisions so far at least. This is the first one I kind of came up with. It works well, but I basically used random mappings between the display pins and the outputs on here, which worked fine, but I did kind of come up with a slightly modified revision. This is version 2 here, it's the current one I'm working with. I changed the pin mappings to match this adapter here, this existing one, so the library code or the examples that came with this directly match over, so it doesn't matter which type of adapter I'm using, they work the same way. I think it's a slight layout tweak as well. Other than that, it is exactly the same. And so this is basically, it's a kind of a finished product type thing. So I'm going to have a go selling these. I've got it listed on Tindie at the moment, and I'm going to experiment with kind of pricing delivery, see how feasible and how realistic it is to produce something like this. I've got another little product as well, which I'm kind of having a play around with at the moment, which will probably go up in a couple of weeks so the next revision of the board comes back. So if you want a closer look at these boards, head over to the Tindie page. I've got the link in the footer.